What's up, everyone? It's Karthik with Moneyvest. Welcome on board for our market open live stream. Hope you all are doing great and are ready for another day of investing and trading in the markets. As Palantir, there's two P's, tales of two P's. A 1P stock is pushing higher, which is Palantir, up over 11%, but the other is PayPal, down over 17, almost 18%, down to $43 a share. I mean, this just looks really, really ugly now. 18%, trading down to its 2017, a 9-year low, for PayPal. But the other stock, Palantir, pushing up over 11% on earnings. I've got a video coming out on Palantir later today. Full detailed analysis going over the entire numbers with the new buy target and fair value on Palantir as well. So hope you all are excited for that update. It's going to be released in about an hour. So good morning. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Just drop a like and just give me a thumbs up if the audio and the video is working well as you are coming in. Just want to make sure there are no technical issues and that the audio and the video is good to go. And volatility here sitting just over 16 right now for the VIX. And we've got crypto, so Bitcoin trying to recover a little bit, still trading just over $78,000. And then we've got Ethereum also at just a little bit over 2,300. So that's where we are for Ethereum as well. Perfect. Good morning. Good audio video is great. Awesome. Good morning, everybody, and good you sold out of PayPal. Yep, I made that decision in the middle of last year. Somebody mentioned Axon as well. Let's take a look. Is it diving? Up 3%. Okay, not bad. It's up over 3% in pre-market hours here. Of course, it has been selling off quite a bit, but after the U.S. Department of Homeland Security announced body camera deployments for Minnesota, Minneapolis officers part of a nationwide expansion initiative. And yes, we've done analysis on Axon as well, as it does sell a lot of equipment to law enforcement, defense, military. That's where it essentially shines, right? So this is what they sell. And they do have a pretty substantial market on it. And looks like, technically speaking, there is a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern potentially forming on Axon, as it is battling through this support around 459, 460 at the moment, but trading back up to 474 right now. So yeah, PayPal is just going crazy. I think Microsoft is going for that gap fill of last year, definitely adding if it gets down there. Yep, so Microsoft did leave a substantial amount of gap from the daily chart if you come take a look at it. Of course, this was the gap that is now starting to fill in. That ends around 392, 393. So that is from 2025 March. Other than that, I don't think we have any other substantial gaps that Microsoft needs to fill. But you're right, it is absolutely getting down there to those levels from back in March of 2025. So that's what we have to pay attention to moving forward for Microsoft here. Is a US and India trade deal will benefit Apple? I think from a manufacturing standpoint, it might, and even from a consumption standpoint, it might, because a lot of the iPhones currently are getting imported into India. And as a result, they are demanding for higher duties. That's why prices in India for iPhones are higher than anywhere else in the world because of those import duty taxes, because it's one of the largest trends. If you are from India, you know what I'm talking about. One of the biggest trends is if you have someone coming over from the US or UK or Canada or Europe or Dubai, the first thing you ask them is, can you bring me an iPhone? Can you bring me a Mac? Because it's all cheaper in every part of the world except for India, right? So India definitely being a very big market. And that's one of the reasons why Apple pushed up over 4% is because India is a very large market and a large and a growing market for iPhones, for Apple products, as people have more discretionary spending. Buy now, pay later has, through the roof. People are taking out EMIs, or installments, and essentially monthly payments for practically everything has become a subscription at this point. And so it's a very large market. And if the duties are dropped, then prices can be more affordable for Indian consumers. And as a result, that creates a huge lift for Apple at the moment. So that's one of the reasons why Apple was indeed pushing higher quite a bit. Glad to hear you're picking up Broadcom. Yep, so Broadcom was a new position for me yesterday. Started with a very small 10 shares. The plan is to pick up more shares over time, to get this position up to a couple hundred shares at least, to build it up to a reasonable size position for the long term. I do still think that it could drop down to 280s. Again, not one for making predictions, but if it does break below the support here, I would be looking at 280, 282, 283 as a very strong area of support for Broadcom to pick up more shares. And so that's going to be the plan moving forward with Broadcom. So let's take a look. My HEM CSP isn't looking good, expiring on 13th, strike 28, but my cost basis and premium will be 26.94. Yeah, I think we covered that in one of our previous live streams. Rick, yes, it continues to sell off. You are in the money. $20 is the strike, but with your premium received, I'm going to assume you are almost break even. At this point, it's trading at just over $26. So depending on how much premium you received, even if it's over $1.40, then you are more or less break even on this trade at the moment. So that's where we are. So that's where we are for HIMS. SoFi could be added in the S&P 500 within 6 months. Book it. Yeah, I mean, that's the big milestone that I think a lot of SoFi investors are now waiting for, is if SoFi gets added back into the S&P 500, not back, but gets added into the S&P 500 for the first time ever. I think that will be huge for the company. Definitely very similar to what we've experienced with Tesla, with Palantir, with a lot of these companies that have been added to the S&P 500, that has created this huge surge in momentum and excitement and hype that has resulted in some very, very strong run-ups to the upside. So, but nonetheless, the company should always be evaluated on its merits and its actual data and fundamentals rather than anything else. Like for example, stock splits, right? There's a lot of hype around stock splits. When a company does a lot of splits, people for some reason think that it's a bullish indicator, when in fact you are just slicing the pie in a very different way. That's all it is. It doesn't change the fundamentals. It just doesn't change anything about the company, but rather just the number of shares and the price. But there's always this sentiment that stock splits are bullish, and that has worked out for a lot of companies. Same thing with S&P 500 as well, but the only difference is, yes, a lot of hedge funds, institutional investors, managers, they need to now include that stock as part of their portfolio to rebalance for the S&P 500 tracking, right? So that, of course, creates a lot of momentum for the upside for that stock. Ahmed, do you think Palantir will go higher to 190? So I've got a Palantir video coming out later today. Now, one thing I will mention, actually two things I will say about Palantir. The earnings were phenomenal. The earnings report was absolutely one of the best ones I've ever seen, primarily because of three things: the growth rate, the margin expansion, and the balance sheet. Those are the three things that I liked most about Palantir. And finally, I'll say this, the decoupling of some of the highest paying customers, as they are also growing customers that are less than $1 million of ARR, less than $5 million of ARR, because they did close over 180 deals in Q4 2025. So that is substantial. But obviously a lot of them came from, deals closed worth less than $1 million, less than $5 million. So their concentration risk is going down. Their reliance, or I should say the opposite way, the dependence of the US government on Palantir is going up. So on one hand, Palantir is selling software to its allies, to other commercial customers, which are now up to 780, global customers, commercial customers, which is substantial. But then the US government's reliance on Palantir is also increasing, which is amazing to see. A lot of the defense budgets are going towards Palantir, and they are booking a lot of total contract values for commercial and government revenue in the US. So talking about that, and then that's also leading to margin expansion. Now, those are all the good things, right? And the best thing is, of course, the balance sheet. The balance sheet, this is the most well-run, lean business in the world right now with nothing, no balance sheet, debt. And they've got, $7.2, almost $7.5 billion worth of cash. And they can literally clean their entire balance sheet in one single day and still have lots of money, loads of money available on the balance sheet. So Bankruptcy risk, I don't want to give too much away of the video because I've already pre-recorded it. It's going to be released in an hour. But bankruptcy risk is very, very low for Palantir. Now, the only thing that I do not like, of course, which comes as a pretty obvious thing, is the valuation, right? Valuation's expensive. I think it doesn't matter how you wrap, this company in the future and what you expect. The valuation is high. I mean, 100 times earnings on a forward basis, 50 times sales, and then over 80 times cash flow. I don't care what kind of future Palantir is building. Even the valuation at these levels is insane. So for those reasons, that's exactly what the video is going to cover. But I will also go over my new calculated brand new buy target and fair value for Palantir. So that's what we're going to discuss in that video, going over the fair value for Palantir moving forward. Okay, so yeah, is it going to go up to 190? Again, a little bit of a long answer, but nobody knows. We've got a resistance up to 170 first that we have to break out of, and then we can worry about 190. But resistance right now is going to stay put at 170 with a support at 161, down to as low as 146. That's exactly what it's bouncing off of right now, which is very good to see. Rash Salu from Switzerland, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. And are you buying PayPal with almost PE of 7 now? No, I'm not touching PayPal. I think it was a good decision for me to just exit out of my position on PayPal. And as I said, sometimes you've got to rip the Band-Aid and take a learning lesson. It's one thing to make a mistake. It's another thing to stay in that mistake. And for me, as I mentioned before many times, is I'm completely transparent in acknowledging when I have made a mistake, and I need to be brutally honest with myself, because that's where growth is. If you are not honest with yourself, then you would be essentially living a lie. And for me, it's really important to just be brutally honest. Okay, I made a mistake on PayPal, but the decision to stay in PayPal was another mistake that I wanted to avoid. I didn't want to stay in that company because it just wasn't moving. Like for many years, I mean 4 years, 5 years, the stock was just giving us false sense of hope. We had multiple changes in management, multiple changes in strategy. The vision and the overall direction it's not like it wasn't clear. It was just that it was changing a lot. There was a lot of pivots happening, and it becomes very difficult to align yourself with a company that has shifting visions of the future. And so for those reasons, I think it's yes, come to Zurich, I will cook for you. Oh my God. Do you plan to visit us anytime here in Zurich, Switzerland? I actually am planning a Europe meetup this year, for sure. 100% to all the European viewers, depending on where you're joining us from. There is a Europe meetup coming up. In fact, today is February 3rd. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a special live stream to conclude 5 full years of Moneyvest. So I think that's a pretty special day. So we're going to be celebrating it. And yeah, 5 full years are going to complete tomorrow. So I actually moved from the US back to India on February 4th, 2021. I still remember that day like it was yesterday, because that was the day when I actually felt very free. I felt like, okay, I've finally gotten out of the corporate world, kind of quitting my job, booking a one-way ticket back to India. And yeah, February 3rd, like today, 5 years ago, I was literally sitting on Chicago airport, just waiting for my flight. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to move back home to start Moneyvest. So it's been 5 years now, tomorrow. And it's been crazy. It's been crazy. What a journey this has been for all of us, as part of the community. Very, very blessed, very grateful for all the connections, all the great friends that I've made along the way. Like some of our members have become very good friends of mine. And so that's really what I want to do. I want to have everyone come over, anytime you're in Dubai, come over. But yes, we're definitely going to do a Europe meetup very soon. So that's going to happen for sure in 2026. Okay, so let's take a look at a few stocks here. People are selling Tesla to buy SpaceX. Okay, good morning. Jose from Brooklyn, New York. Could you please evaluate Salesforce? Thank you. Absolutely. We'll take a look. So are you invested in Hood? Not yet. So Robinhood was or is on the radar still as a potential stock that I want to get into. It recently broke down, right? So I was looking at 90 bucks as a potential support. Then we broke down here, and the next support is sitting all the way down to $67. So that is going to be that next target for us to watch for Robinhood, and resistance right now is going to stay roughly around $92, $93. I may sell a put on Robinhood here. I'm kind of undecided. I think I need to do a little bit of research on the fair value for Robinhood. I haven't looked into the intrinsic value yet, so that's something that wait a second. I have. I think it might be. Yes, I have. It's part of the shopping list. Forgot that for a while. But yeah, $37 is the fair value. My light buy is at 50. Okay, 50. Heavy buy 43. But after the earnings come out, later this month, then of course these numbers will get updated. So I'm going to assume I'm going to get at least a 10 to 20% lift in the fair value and the light buys and the heavy buys. So it might end up around $67. So that's going to be that next support level that I'm watching. Yes, completely forgot about the fact that it is part of our shopping list. It's been part of the shopping list for over a year. We've been talking about Robinhood, so crazy. But yeah, same time last year, back in April, it dropped down to 30 bucks, and since then it's just tripled. So this was back in April of 2025. It was trading around $28 when the actual light buy or the heavy buy was at 34. No-brainer buy at 34. It was trading below the no-brainer buy. Okay, let's see. Monkey Queen, I was on vacation, and what the heck is going on with the market? I only see red. Let's take a look at Salesforce first, and then we'll cover a few more stocks and then do some more Q&A. But Salesforce has also been under a lot of pressure inside this consolidated pattern, a little bit of a head and shoulders, selling off further. Support level is going to stay roughly at $199, close to $200 for Salesforce. And resistance right now is sitting put at 224, 225. I think valuation is still pretty, it was expensive, but now I think it's a little bit more reasonable. So you can see the progression of the valuation here and how it has come down. So, okay. This graph doesn't do justice to how low the valuations come down to, but we're looking at a valuation that's come down from 45, 47, 53 down to 28. So it's been cut in half in terms of the price to earnings multiple for CRM. So it is a stock we can now start to look into. In fact, Tempelhoff, one of our core members in the community, has actually worked at Salesforce. So I think that would be the person to definitely connect with. He's an industry expert who's in fact worked at CRM. And that's something that we did discuss in our call as well. One of the next most important things that we're going to be doing is identifying industry experts within our community, because we've built a network of investors globally. So it's really important for us to identify experts in their industries, because we've got people from all different backgrounds. We've got engineers, doctors, we've got people who've worked in finance, banking, right? So people who are pilots, actors, musicians, like we've got people from all different backgrounds. Just give me 1 second. Someone's at the door. I'll be right back. Okay, so that's going to be the plan moving forward, is to identify some experts within our community that can answer a lot of company-specific, stock-specific questions, because they belong in the same industry as what we're analyzing for that company. But okay, coming back to some stocks here. I was light buying SoFi. My cost base is $13.60 now in my investment account, so I can DCA up. So yes, if your cost basis is really low, $13.60, that's a phenomenal cost basis. And if your fair value is closer to as what it is mine at $18, that's really the target. Is like, I want to be as close to my fair value as possible, preferably lower than my fair value. And so, even on these dips, even if the price is higher than what the light buy or the heavy buy might be, it makes sense, because number one, the stock is down 15, 20, 30% from all-time highs. And two, even buying here is not pushing me to market price. It's going to be moving up my cost basis, but still keeping me below where my fair value is. So this is what I call a very good dollar cost averaging opportunity, because you are increasing your position size on a 20-30% dip while keeping your fair value still at or higher than where your cost basis is. That's really the end goal with these buy targets, is to make sure that you are nailing down on that price. That's, at the end of the day, like, that's really what it is. Okay, if you don't mind me asking, did you move to UAE for tax optimization purposes? That was one of the big reasons, but I also love it here because there's a lot of other really good positive things about the UAE from a safety, cleanliness, and overall growth perspective. But then it's also very close to home, so it's only a 3-hour flight for me to India. Those are among many other reasons why I really like it here. Financial data analysts in the car and automotive industry, and I find it interesting, like BYD and Tesla, etc. Absolutely, we'll definitely be discussing that as well. It's going to be an ongoing discussion. BITX, let's take a quick look at what BITX is up to. And so the dividends are dropping for sure. And again, it depends very much on the price too, right? They're not going to be able to keep up with those insane dividends that they were paying. And as a result, as the price is coming down, so will the dividend of this ETF. But at the same time, we are looking at crypto, really. At the end of the day, like, if you're investing in BITX, crypto is really what we have to watch for, because that is what is the underlying asset that BITX is going to be moving on. So just one second. So all right, let's do some Q&A. We've got 20 minutes until market opens. Let's run through some questions and answers quickly. Moved from Dubai to Zurich in 2011. That's amazing. Subscribe to your annual subscription. That's amazing too. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm confident you're going to find tons of value, tons of information in our community. So what do you think about PayPal earnings? I've talked about PayPal extensively earlier in the live stream. And I think it's very, very safe to say that PayPal, I'm not going to say that it's like a terrible stock to own, but it's just going through a very, very tough time. And that time has lasted 9 years. So I think for me, there's a limit to how much patience we can have as investors. So I read this book, Little Book That Beats the Market. And in that book, the author, I forgot what his name, Rosenblatt something, Little Book That Beats the Market. Rosenblatt, Joel Greenblatt. So what he discusses in this book is that you can have a strategy that outperforms the market, but it's also very difficult to be patient with that strategy, because if 1 year that strategy does not perform, do you stick to it? If the second year it doesn't perform, do you stick to it? If the third year it doesn't perform, do you stick to it, right? How much time are you going to give a stock or a strategy until you finally decide, you know what, this is just not working out? Because patience is very important, but you also have to be finding that right balance of being adaptive and understanding, okay, this did not work out and I need to not make a mistake by holding on to this anymore and move on to something else. I think PayPal fundamentally, financially is still, a solid company. We had a double miss. $1.23 in earnings, $8.68 billion of revenue. So fundamentally, this still is a good company. Most of my business is on PayPal, still paying them every month a lot of money, but it just doesn't seem to move. Like, there seems to be a lot of, overall sentiment isn't strong on PayPal. So is App a good buy now? So let's take a look at Oracle and AppLovin. Oracle, been in this straight line down since September of last year. I still remember Oracle started off with this OpenAI investment cycle and all this, AI flows. Literally on September 10th is when I landed last time in the US. And I remember going over to the earnings and also all their OpenAI investments and initiatives. Since then, the stock's down over 50%. It's essentially been cut in half. I think the valuation was quite insane here at these levels. Now it's gotten down to some quite reasonable levels. We were expecting some stabilization here in the 180s, but then it continues to slide down further. And 151 is going to be that next support level to watch. But I do think that there is now starting to get a bit more overreaction on Oracle. However, the balance sheet is not great. They do have a ton of debt. We're talking over $112 billion worth of debt. So 151, 152 is going to be that support level to watch next for Oracle. Now looking at AppLovin, this was the area of support, which is now going to be sitting roughly around 468, 469. Resistance closer to 534, 535 for AppLovin, and valuations right now sitting at almost 60 times earnings, 29 times sales. Earnings expectations are strong, about 50% growth in 2026, then increasing to about 30% and then another 30%. So earnings growth, revenue growth is strong for AppLovin. I think the valuation is still a bit rich at 30 times sales over 60 times earnings. If it does break down, I would be looking at 367, 369 as a support for AppLovin there. Yeah, PayPal has been insane. Love you to the moon. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What do you think about Twilio's valuation? So TWLO, let's take a look. I think last time I checked, it was a pretty expensive stock to begin with, but of course it's gone through a major roller coaster of overall price actions, gone from like 23 to over $470, about 2,000%, then dropping over 90%, and right now still down over 80% from all-time highs. Seems to be struggling to break above this resistance here. That is going to be that resistance with a support level roughly around 84 to $80 for Twilio. It does seem to be making a little bit of this ascending triangle as well. So that is the overall ascending support. And if you do break out from this, if this is the breakout, then the next target is going to be all the way up to 280 for Twilio. So looking at the fundamentals, since you asked, yeah, very expensive, 289 times earnings and over 22 times cash flows at the moment. So that is very, very expensive. Okay, how would you invest into IREN after the earnings? So there isn't like a specific methodology on how you would invest. It's just if it comes down and we are getting good prices, I did a video on IREN, I did my fair value, anything under $40 is great. You look, as investors, like, we always want the cheapest price. Like, we always want the lowest possible price. Make it a rule of thumb that your cost basis should be a flex with as low as it is, right? So if you were in a room, and I would be very, very impressed with the person with the lowest cost basis on a stock, because if you buy right, that is going to determine whether you make money or not. So our goal is not to overpay. Our goal is not to get sucked into the hype of buying at the highest possible price. Our goal is to find the best deals, and best deals come in with the greatest discounts, with the greatest price, lowest price possible. So that's really what we have to focus on. So for IREN, I did analysis under $40, closer to $30 is the support level, and that's what we have to, what we look forward to. If it drops, that's going to be a good price point. Can you tell about stock NIO, the Chinese car company? Every time they show great sales, but no reflecting in price. So NIO also, we've covered on the channel long back, and I think lack of focus. I think there is a NIO showroom here in Dubai as well, but they just focus on too many vehicles and not on actually becoming profitable. So, I talked about this like in 2021, 2022, that if NIO only focused on three cars, that's all you have to do. Build 3 cars, make them profitable. make them profitable, actually turn into a profitable company, generate good cash flow, everything else will follow. You can do 100 different investments if you can become profitable, because that's why profitability is so important to a business long-term success and sustainability. Because if you're not profitable, you're burning a hole in your wallet. You're not going to be around for many years. And so that's why we look so much into cash flow and profitability, because if those things are lacking, it's only a matter of time. Your days are limited. So got it for PayPal investors for sure. I know 17-18% drop is huge. It's crazy. You think NVIDIA can recover today? It sold off pretty bad last hour yesterday. So let's take a look. NVIDIA up over 0.5%. It was down 2.8%. I think it's, the overall S&P 500 is trading at an all-time high, but thanks to a lot of other sectors and stocks that have really pushed up, not so much the Magnificent Seven companies, because they have really struggled. If you take a look at the market concentration or snapshot here, a lot of them are actually trading down, from all-time highs. So if you simply look at the delta here, you've got Google is the only one that's trading near all-time highs. Next best one, Amazon, 6. Think about this for a second. I'll put things in perspective. This top 10 makes up for 40% of the S&P 500, right? So almost half of the S&P is in the top 10 stocks. And those 10, not 10, but those 7 or 8 are down minimum 6% from all-time highs. And yet the S&P 500 is at near all-time highs. Amazon down 6, Apple's down 6.5, AMD is down 7.7, Meta's down 11.2 in a correction, Nvidia's down 12.5, Tesla's down 15.4, one of the biggest companies in the world, Microsoft down over 23% from all-time highs. Broadcom's down 20%, $1.5 trillion business. So collectively, these are down a lot, and yet the S&P 500 is at near all-time highs here, only less than 1% away from all-time highs. I think this has really been a very, very broad-based momentum. Market breadth has improved. Market has broadened out into other parts of the sectors here. And as a result, this has been a very strong move. And even commodities, materials have done very well. So if you come over to our 2026, or let's just go over to Max 7. And come over here. This is the year-to-date performance. Silver is still leading. Silver and gold, very similar to last year, is up over 19 and 13% respectively, even after the sell-off that we witnessed. Then Google. Google, very similar to last year's performance. It was the best performing Max 7 stock. It's up another 8.6% on the year. Meta's up 6.5% on the year. Amazon is up over 5% on the year. Then we got Dow Jones. Dow Jones actually outperforming the NASDAQ. That tells you a lot about this market dynamic, that tech is lacking, right? Tech is certainly not the leader this year so far. So if Dow Jones is up 2.7%, yeah, value is leading the way higher right now. So that's where we are. Again, thank you so much for joining, everybody. Karthik listing all the stocks down. Sounds like he's describing my portfolio. Not just yours, man. Not just yours. Makes two of us if those are the companies that you have. Man, just imagine yesterday my portfolio was actually down even though the S&P and NASDAQ were higher. Why? Because NVIDIA, Tesla, Palantir, they were all selling off. Thank you. Meta was down 1.4. Great. What's going on? But okay, thank you so much for joining. I have to cut a little bit early. I have a book reading session today. We're reading this new book from Morgan Housel. It's called The Art of Spending Money. I'll maybe do a review on this once I'm done reading. I'm just about halfway through. So we've got a book reading session later today. A bit more personal finance and reading incorporated as well. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, everyone. Really appreciate you all. Again, link's going to be down below if you want to join, be a part of the community. Robinhood, I will be looking at as a potential CSP. And then we'll be looking at other additions for Broadcom position. And then Netflix also. I need to close out my call depending on how much it's up. And then I'll alert if I do end up selling a new one. So thank you so much for joining. Happy investing. I will see you all in the next video. Yes, Dave, I'll definitely share whatever I learned in this book. Thank you so much. Bye.